All right, everyone, welcome back to the Renowned Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Morris. I'm so excited for the show we have lined up for you today. But before we get started, I want to share that if you're ready to fast track your career and achieve extraordinary success, I have a program that will ignite your potential and propel you to new heights. As a high level executive coach, I specialize in empowering leaders like you to unleash your full potential and excel in your career. Whether you're seeking a rapid advancement in your current career or a seamless transition to a new industry, I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Imagine having a trusted advisor who understands your unique challenges and provides you with a proven roadmap for success. Together, we'll work from your strengths, overcome obstacles, and position you as a magnetic force in the professional world. Now is the time to break free from the limitations holding you back and step into the extraordinary career you deserve. Don't settle for mediocrity when greatness is within your reach. So claim your spot. It all starts with a complimentary session. Just go to renownedleadership.com and click the book now button or click the link in the podcast description below. Accelerate your career, embrace your true potential, and become the influential leader you were destined to be. Remember, success favors those who take decisive action. Seize this opportunity and join the ranks of the high-achieving executives who are making waves in their industry. With all that being said, I'm excited to introduce you to today's guest. Today's guest is a pretty awesome young woman. She is hailing all the way from the great state of Rhode Island, and she is an executive coach and goal expert. Her name is Kylee Robinson, and she has a ton of value to bring to us. We recorded this episode fairly early in the morning, so we were both kind of not on our A game at the beginning, but we get on track, and we bring you guys a ton of value. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Without further ado, here we go. All right, Kylee. So, thank you for joining me so early on a Saturday morning, first of all, because for those of you listening at, 8 or 9 o'clock at night, it's stupid early this morning. And, yeah, so we're tired, so bear with us. But anyway, thank you for joining with me this morning. Good.
Good morning. It is Saturday morning and we are here.
I have a pulse. That's all I got going for me
We are
this morning.
showing up.
So before I screw up anything else and keep stumbling over myself, just introduce yourself and tell people who you are.
Oh man. Well, it is Saturday morning and I am not a natural morning person, but we are both here showing up. I am Kylee Robinson. I am an executive coach with a focus on goal setting. So I help people get where they want to be, create the life that they want to live, make sure they're moving in the right direction. I want to help people simplify what they have to do so that they can do more of what they want in their life.
I love that. And we, you and I have talked before, like goal setting is such a huge part of my life and what I do. But we'll get into that in a little bit. How did you get into goal setting? Like what led you down that path?
I think I was raised in it.
Really?
I think my parents weren't like, okay, what are your goals for this year or this month? Like that's not what they did, but everything that they did kind of guided into this direction. And really, if we I'll jump forward a little bit, my husband and I got married really young, and we knew that we needed to get out of our debt. Like we knew that money, our families both dealt with money struggles growing up, and we didn't want to do that. So we knew money touches everything. We have debt. We need to get out of that. Like this is going to be a really big thing for our lives and where we're going. So that was kind of our first step. And we knew we needed to have goals around that. And we had no money getting married. I was 20 years old. He was still in school for another semester. And I wanted to get a whiteboard for our living room. I was like, we need to have our goals in front of us all the time. So we need a whiteboard, but we had no money, so I couldn't just pop over to Staples and buy a $30 whiteboard. So I started looking at garage sales, and we hit this one garage sale, and there's a whiteboard there, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been looking for. And the guy, I asked him, I'm like, how much for the whiteboard? I didn't even read what was on the whiteboard. The whiteboard had prices for the garage sale on it. So I was like, how much? And the guy's like, it's not for sale. I'll just take it a quarter. I was like, this is the best day. So you never know until you ask. But that whiteboard is sitting in my living room downstairs right now. The whiteboard I got for a quarter 11 years ago. So that whiteboard has our goals, and we listed out what's our vision for our life long term. We have it all boxed off. So we have long term, what do we want to do this year, 2023? What do we need to do for our business this month? What do we need to do for ourselves this month? What are our personal goals? And then what just needs to happen? So it's broken up into 5 different sections. So the to-do list is kind of like, don't forget the oil needs to get changed, finish the taxes, don't forget to give the dogs their medicine, those kind of things in that to-do box. And then we have our goals for the business and personal for the month. And we reevaluate this every single month. Every month when we sit down and we do our budget, we also look at our goals and what do we need to do to move us closer to where we want to be in that long-term vision. So that kind of kicked us off on goal setting and where we want to go and what this vision looks like. And that's, like I said, that's kind of where we started.
That's so awesome. And you know what I notice is as I work with people, you know, new clients, friends, family, whoever, it's like, yeah, so what are your goals? And they just give you that deer in the headlights look. They're like, like, I've not thought about that. It's like, how have you not thought about that? Like, if you're gonna drive from California to New York, like you're gonna have a plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, like your life is far more important. Like, how have you not done that?
I think that's the thing though, is that people don't know that New York's the destination. They're starting in California and okay, we're just gonna go and we'll do the next step. But they don't have that vision in place. And I think so much of that is just culture setting things up for us, or family members assuming things for us, and we just take the next step, and then you wake up and you're 35, 40 years old and you go, oh, that's not where I wanted to go. That's not how I
Yeah,
intended things to happen.
yeah, these weren't my dreams at all. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's crazy too, because as I'm talking with people, it's I would love this, but I mean, come on, it's me. And it's like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Like, Peyton Manning said, oh, I want to be the greatest quarterback ever, but it's just me. I'm just Peyton Manning. I'm nobody. Like, you know what I mean? Like that mindset does not serve you in any way to just like think, oh, yeah, I'm no one special.
Yeah.
I'm not saying being arrogant, but you can do whatever you want. Just put in the work, right? Set your
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah. Like I say, there's a difference between impossible goals and stretch goals or reach goals.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, how are you going to set this up and how are you going to define those two? And so an impossible goal, the analogy I like to use is like, if you're 500 pounds and you want to win a bodybuilding competition this year, that's impossible. Like you will kill
Mm-hmm.
yourself trying to do that. Okay. That doesn't mean never, but if you are setting that deadline at this year, like, sweetheart, I am with you. Let's do the work. Let's go. But it's going to take some time. It is not going to
Mm-hmm.
happen this year. Now, last year, I set a goal to do the Spartan trifecta races. So 3 races. I know I have the shirt on right now. I'm repping here. Um, but for me, it took me a couple months to commit to this even and go, okay, this is what I want to do for the next year. I knew I wanted to do something physically that was impossible in my head. Now, I am physically fit. I am capable. I have a gym membership. I have the time. I have everything available to me to be able to do this. It was a mental impossibility for me. So that was
Hmm.
my thing, is I was having to get over this mental hurdle. That was not an impossible goal, that was a stretch goal. That was something I had all the resources available to me and I was capable of. So I knew I could do it. I just had to get over the mental piece. So I think that's the other thing is, people picture something and go, "Oh, I couldn't do that." But okay, is that impossible or is it a stretch? And then how okay, if it's just a stretch, let's think about that. Can we set up a plan? Can we set up a program? Can we train for that Spartan race and be able to actually do that?
Right. I love that. And, it's funny that you say impossible because right now I keep a goal journal. It's big and hard backed and nice. And one of my goals currently there is 5 to 10 years. I want my company annually bringing in $7.5 million to $10 million.
Mhm.
So that's the 5 to 10 year goal. And so when I wrote that down, I'm like, that's freaking impossible. Like I'm starting this thing from day one. I have no social media. I have no following. I have no anything. No one knows who the hell I am. Like I have nothing, right? So
Mhm.
how it seems so hard and so far away to do that. But then, you taught like your example was the person 500 pounds wants to be in a bodybuilding. I cannot talk this morning, man. I think I'm going to go back to bed and just let you finish the show, okay? But anyway, the person that wanted to be in the bodybuilding competition, I almost messed it up again. They're 500 pounds. Yes, this year they would be suicidal to try to meet that goal.
Mhm.
But that just because it's impossible this year doesn't mean it's going to be impossible next year or the year after that. So I think that is a very important distinction that today, my $7.5 million revenue for my company is impossible. To, 3 or 4 years, 5 years from now, not so much. So
Mhm.
I think that as you're looking, don't be scared to evaluate those impossible goals and think, okay, is this really impossible? Is it, you know, me landing on the moon in 10 years? Because I mean, that's, let's be honest, that's probably not going to happen. But, or is it just right now you don't have the ways and the means?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and again, it's going back to what is the vision? And the vision is farther out than 1 year. I took a class in college. Um, it was like a business, I don't know, it was something worldwide business. And they talked about long-term vision in the United States versus every other country in business. Every other country is focused on like 20 to 50 years out. And Americans are like, what's happening this year? Like
Right.
maybe 3 years. We are so short-sighted in what
Yeah,
we're doing. And I mean that instant gratification. We got to
absolutely.
have it. So
That's
we need
so
to look at,
true. I'm sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
so that's all right. No, like, so what is the vision for your company, your business, your life? What do you want things to look like? And I try to challenge people, like, let's just try 5 years. And if we have to, let's just do two. Like, let's just take those baby steps into 2 years from now. How old are you? How old are your kids? What does a random Tuesday look like? What time are you getting up? What are you doing? Who is in your life? Is the dog still alive? Where are you living? Like, let's just take all of those components and go 2 years from now, what does this look like? Now, 5 years, what does it look like? Now, 10 years. And just break it down. It doesn't have to be this like pie in the sky, bizarre thing, but let's kind of pull it down and ground it. And what do you want your life to look like? Um, my husband and I, like I said, we wanted to get out of debt. So we had, when we sat down, we had $44,000 in student loans, and that was our only debt. We ended up paying that off in 26 months. Now, we didn't pay it off in the first 26 months of being married because we had no money and he needed a job after getting out of college. And it took him a solid year to get a job. And when we did and moved from Texas to Rhode Island, we still weren't making any money because all the prices went up on everything because we moved to the East Coast. And we are like, what the heck just happened here? We were supposed to like be making all this headway on this debt. So it still took us several months. And when we finally like got our feet under us and said, okay, now's the time. We can do this. We set a goal, and we said, okay, 2 years, 24 months. And so December 31st of that year, we didn't finish it. And it still took us another 2 months. And that was frustrating and defeating, but we didn't quit. We didn't quit in the beginning when we had no money and still said, the vision is to be debt free. This is where we want to go. We have no idea how that's going to happen because we're both just like doing these jobs that we have, making minimum wage, paid hourly. We don't know how we're going to get there yet, but we're going to keep working our tails off to get there because that's the vision. And so that's what people need to set in place is where do I want to go? And then let's figure it out. How are we going to get there? What kind of plan can I put in place?
You like my brain. I have ADHD really bad, and so you just said like you just fired like 20 different thoughts of where I want to go all at the same time. And so now I'm like trying like you know how when you fall you're like just trying to grab something.
Grab
That's what I'm doing
anything.
right now. Just trying to grab a thought.
Pick any. We'll go wherever.
So I don't remember where I heard this story, but somebody was with Apple executives. And this was right when Microsoft had, I think it was Simon Sinek. It was right when Microsoft had launched their Zune MP3 player Touch, the Zune Touch. And it was, I remember when that came out, I was actually in Iraq at the time. And it was like, even in the Middle East, it was a big deal that the Zune Touch was coming out.
Hmm.
And as you know, the Simon, I think I'm pretty sure it's Simon Sinek. I mean, he had been working with Microsoft a couple weeks before, and they gave him one for free to check out. And he was with the Apple execs, and he was like, check this out. Like, look what Microsoft's doing. And he said every single executive was like, that's cool. And it blew his mind because he was like, well, you don't care? Like, this is your competition. He's like, it took me a while to realize that they were playing the long game. Yeah, Microsoft is the first one to come out with that product, but Apple absolutely crushed them. They weren't trying to come out with the first product, the best product. They were trying to come out with the product that's going to carry them over the long term.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened. Microsoft was very short sighted. They wanted to get it out first. They
Yeah.
wanted, right? And Apple was playing the long game. And so, like, what you were talking about is, we're so short sighted here in the United States, and it's so true. We really need to look out. And when I tell people, like, yeah, I set goals for 10 years out, like that's a decade. And yeah,
Yes.
I'll I'll be I'll be 50. Like, what? you know, but it's how that's what gets me. And the way I explained it to my wife is, this is our GPS. Like this, because I'm a little bit different than you. I reverse plan. So I figure I look at 10 years, I'm like, how much money do I want to make in 10 years?
Sure.
And that's what I write down. And then from there, it's like, okay, well, you know, 7.5 million, that's a big number whenever you're going from that to what I currently make. And it's like, how in the hell am I going to do that? And so then it's like you just start breaking it down like, all right, well, to meet this goal every year, I need to meet these goals. And then
Yes.
to meet this goal this year, every month, I have to meet these goals. And that literally will break down and give you a day by day to do list. If you wanted to, like, you don't have to go that far in depth with it, but you can. I do. And then the other super important thing I think you said is, you didn't meet your goal, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a matter of did you give up? Did you
Yeah.
stop? Like, should we have just been like, dang it, 10,000 out. Bummer. We'll
Oh
never
well,
get
I
there.
guess we'll get another 30,000 and start over.
Right, right. No, we pushed and we still got it done. And so I think so often people look at that as I missed the deadline. I'm a failure. That was off. I quit. And they throw in the towel.
Mhm.
Like that wasn't a failure. We just had to push the deadline a little bit. It was just a little bit further out. And that's all right. I think so often with goal setting, we act like robots. Like this is how it's going to go. The end, no exceptions. And sometimes life changes. All right, let's say 7.5 million is your goal. Awesome. But also, do you still want to be married when you get to that point? Do you want to have a relationship with your kids? Are you 200 pounds overweight? Like, what are some of the other things in that vision? Like, you might hit that, but then was that a success if the rest of your life is falling apart?
Right.
Like
What
you
did
got
you
you got to look at all
destroy?
those
Yeah.
pieces. Or this year, okay, you've got these things that you said you can break it down to the daily task list. Great. But let's say, God forbid, there's a health scare, there's a heart attack that happens, something. Okay, the focus might have to shift from how much money and how the business is doing to now my goals need to be focused on my health because I can't do anything if I don't have that. Or shoot, my marriage is not what I thought it was going to, what it was, there's a scare there. I need to focus on that relationship more than anything else and the goals focus there because we can't set goals. We can't have 37 goals for a year. You
Right.
won't hit them. It won't
Mhm.
happen. So you've got to kind of pick these two facets of your life and go, okay, this is what I'm going to focus on right now. And sometimes the direction is going to have to change. And that's okay because you're not a robot. You're a human. And we're living in this world and in this life, and we have to adjust sometimes. And that doesn't mean you're a failure. That doesn't mean you won't hit the 7.5 million goal. That doesn't mean, your health won't get on track. It's what's important right now for the season that you're in. And it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the hardest thing to get my wife to understand with me is, she's like, well, you have all these goals. Like it's impossible to meet all these goals. And it's like, well, I guess I need to preface this a little bit. Like I also keep a dream list, like just my
Mm,
dreams, what I want.
yeah.
And, it's like, yeah, I may never get it. That's okay. I don't like it's fluid and it changes all the time, like you said. Like that's why I think what you and your husband do, where you sit down and look at it every single month, is so important because in that 30 days, man, a lot can change. A death in the family, like just everything you said, like
Yeah.
so it has to be fluid. It has to be like water. It's constantly going with the bends of the river. And as you live your life, you're adjusting everything, 7.5 million may be my goal today. This time next year, I might not even care. Like,
Or it might be 10 million.
or it
Who
might be,
knows?
yeah, yeah, it may go up, or I just don't care about money. I'm happy and have everything I want. And it's like, you know what? Screw that goal. And that's
Yeah.
okay too. It's okay to
Yep.
say, you know what? That's not my goal anymore. I don't care. And you didn't fail, you didn't quit. Your priorities change. And that is so, so freaking important in life.
Yeah. Yeah. Let it happen.
And I think when I started doing this goal setting practice, goal journaling is what I call it. Um, I noticed that very quickly, I would say within 3 months, my life satisfaction rating, if that were a thing, drastically improved. Like
Mm.
my credit score for my life drastically improved because I suddenly felt purpose. I felt on track. I felt like I knew where I was going. And that's so important because think about when you're lost in the city that you don't know. Like how uneasy is that? Like how
Yeah.
scared are you? Like, and this is our life, man. This right.
Yeah.
So if you don't know where you're going in your life, that's just scary.
Yeah. There's got to be intentionality around it.
100%. So what is setting someone that they're hearing this for the first time and they're like, okay, so uh, Kylee, she inspired me. I want to set goals. What does setting effective goals sound and look like? Like, do you use the SMART system? If so, can you explain what that is, or what
Yeah.
system do you?
Yeah. No, so I have a 7-step program that I walk people through. And so we definitely we start with vision always. You got to know where you're going, what's the destination, how we're going to, and then we work on how we're going to get there. And so then we step into that goal setting piece, which you had talked about. We reverse engineer that. So when we have the vision, just like we have on our whiteboard, what's the long term? Now, what can I do this year that can move me closer to that? So then we set up annual goals, then we set up monthly goals that guides you into what can I do this week that'll move me there. And the biggest thing is I want to eliminate the I'll start on Monday mentality because that's
So
everybody, right?
destructive. So destructive.
Yes. Yes. Like, why can't it happen on a Thursday or a Saturday? So,
What's so
my thing
special
is,
about Monday?
I don't know. It's a fresh start. I think it was this year, wasn't it? That January 1st was also a Monday. It was like the first is the beginning of a new month, a new year, a new week. It was like the best thing ever.
I didn't even know that
Oh, I don't know how you didn't know that. It was so happy.
because I don't care.
um,
Oh man.
but but the idea here is I want to eliminate that mindset. So, what can we do in the next 20 minutes? What can let's say within the next 2 years, you want to visit Italy. Great. That's an awesome vision. Let's do it. What can you do in the next 20 minutes to get you closer to that? Well, nothing because I can't research all the blogs and where I'm going to go and how it's going to work. I need to talk to a travel agent. No, 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 no. What can you do in 20 minutes to move the needle a little bit? Can you just Google what the best season is to visit Italy or
Pick a
what the
city.
cheapest pick a city and just set a timer? Is it 20 minutes researching it? Can you just look up flights for a second? You can do something towards whatever it is you want in 20 minutes. Can you do 20 squats? 20 sit-ups? You can do something for whatever it is next 20 minutes. I want to get out of debt. I can't get out of debt in the next 20 minutes. Can you look up a part-time job? Can you look at your bank account and just see where things are? Can you start a budget? Google how to do a budget. Find out how much debt you actually have or just start to. So that's kind of my thing is, all right, we got to have the vision. Then how do we break it down? What can you do next 20 minutes? And then bring that humanity piece in, like we were talking before. It's okay to move the deadline, to change the goal, to change directions, for things to get in the way, for life to happen, to have to adjust the sails. That's okay. But in addition to that, with that humanity piece is also, who are you as a person? What's your personality? What are your strengths and weaknesses? What are your values? And how to find those things out. I don't have my own personality test per se, but I will encourage all of them. I love the Enneagram. I think
Me
it
too. That's my
provides
favorite.
awesome. Okay, what's your number?
I'm eight with I have two wings, a one and a nine.
Okay. Okay. So I'm a 8 wing 7. I think that's pretty typical for business owners. These entrepreneurs that we are. I love the Enneagram because I think it gives the most um, room for growth and for fluidity for people. Because I feel like a lot of the other ones, I'm a fan of the disc. I think it's good, but it puts people in a box.
Mhm.
This is what you are, and it puts a stamp on you, and that's where you have to stay. Whereas the Enneagram, you get, here's where you are in health, and here's where you are in stress, and here's your wings, and you have all of these different places to go. And the idea is that you continue growing to the point where somebody doesn't necessarily know what you are. They can't
Right,
pick it out.
right.
So, anyways, our little trail there. Um, but you need to know who you are, okay? I am not a natural morning person. I don't like admitting that. I'm also, unfortunately, not a natural night owl either. I I revel in this like middle of the day, and it's bizarre.
You're so weird.
I'm so weird. There's actually, if you look at sleep types, there's four different ones. I don't remember what all the animals are, but it's like you've got your morning, you've got your night person. I am the bear. I am the middle of the day bear, and I hate it because I don't want to be that. But my husband's like, you, this is who you are. You need to admit it. If you want to do the work to get up earlier or stay up later and get things done, then fine. But like, you need to just come to reality. Like, this is what you are. Fine. But in recognizing that, in admitting it, I can design my life in a way that is going to be most effective for me instead of hating myself and fighting myself to be something I'm not. Again,
Mhm.
I can do the work. I can get up early. I can get up at 5 o'clock and go to the gym. I don't like it. It's not my natural habitat, but I can do it. But I can also understand that, I wrote a book and published it, and I wrote that book between the hours of 2 and 8 p.m. I did not get up at 4 a.m. and knock it out in a couple of hours every morning. It just didn't happen. Other authors will tell you that's how to do it. Who are you? And are the goals that you're setting going to work for who you are? Or what kind of things are you going to have to put in place to get there? What kind of changes are you going to have to make? How much harder is it going to be for you to do this goal because you're the bear?
That's so cool. I want to hang out there for a second, seriously,
Yeah.
because I have a client right now that I'm working with, and he just had a horrible routine. Like
Mm,
he didn't even have a routine. Like it was bad. Anyway,
yeah.
as I was working with him, I'm like, dude, like your routine sucks, man. Like you got to figure something out here. And so I was explaining my routine to him, and I get up
Mm,
at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm not a morning person either. I'm a night out, man. I love, man. I hate going to bed before midnight. Hate it. But over the years, because of being in the military, I had to get used to being up early,
sure.
and also had to get used to not sleeping very much. So that kind of benefits me, I guess. People say it's not healthy. I say they're full of crap, though. Um, just because if I sleep 8 hours, I will have a migraine all day.
Mm,
Every single time I sleep more than six, yeah, anything more than 6 hours, I'm gonna have a headache all day. But
mm,
I'll take naps here and there throughout the day, just short little, quick, power restful naps,
yeah.
and that's how I function. That's how my body has learned to function, and I think because I've trained my body that way, that's why it's fine, and I'm perfectly healthy. But now is that to say that there's anything wrong with sleeping 12 hours a day? I would say yes, but I don't, if that's how you are, if that's how you need to function, that's fine. But anyway, with my client, it was like, dude, like just pick a routine. He's like, well, I want to be like you. I want to be up at 4 in the morning. I want to be efficient and doing things by 5. I'm like, bro, like it took me 16 years to get to where I just wake up at that
Yeah.
early, and
Yeah.
it's still hard.
Right.
And so, like, it's not, it's not discipline. It's just practice over all these years of being in the military that I finally learned to do this. And trust me, I don't want to. I just now it's natural. It's what I do. And so,
Yeah.
that is so important. Just to understand who you are. And again, like we were talking earlier, it's freaking okay. It's
Mhm.
okay. Like
Yeah.
you're a bear. That's cool, man. Like, it's
You got to
okay.
wrestle with it and be okay with it and admit it to yourself. And then, okay, how do we adjust? Am I going to put in the
Absolutely.
work to be a morning person, to do X, Y, and Z in the morning? Or am I going to write the book in the afternoon?
Absolutely.
It's
That's so
it's all
important.
right.
So
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. So and then from there, okay, all right, I'm going to put the work in. How's that fit into your schedule?
Mhm.
You got to have a good grasp on your time. Does this actually fit? Um, I love this story. Christy Wright is an author, speaker, coach, all the things. And so she shared this story. several years back, she was doing a podcast interviewing some gentleman, and he said one of his goals was to read like 30 books that year. And she's like, what a great goal. I'm going to do that too. I love reading. I love personal development. Like, I'm going to do it too. That's a great goal. So she set that goal for herself. And a couple months into the year, she starts stressing because when you set a goal for the year that has to build on itself like that, if you don't do it every month, it can be downright defeating. You get to June, July, and you're like, oh, shoot, I am not where I need to be to make this happen. So that's what was happening to her. And so she had to step back finally. And instead of getting stressed, she said, let me just look at this again. I have two small children. I'm married. I have a full time job. I'm releasing a book, and I'm a speaker, and I'm going on tour for the book. She's all over the country. She's like, this is a good goal. This is important. Personal development and reading is good. It is not for where I am right now. It is not
Right.
for this season. So you have to look at that too. Last year with the Spartan races, I had to run a lot. I hate running. Um,
Me
but I
too.
didn't. That's why Spartan races
Sucks.
are so great. And if you pick the ones we did, we just had to walk up and down ski slopes instead of running. So, I mean, you know, pick your poison. Um, but I had to have the time to go do that. Like running takes time. I have a
Mhm.
small son. Where was I going to fit that in? So, what is this goal? What does your schedule look like? Is your season conducive for it? Where are you going to put it? Like just saying, I want to run a marathon this year. Awesome. Do you have four little kids running around? You're a stay at home mom and your husband works 12 hours a day? Cool. Where are you putting those runs in? Where is your training time going to go? I want to get out of debt, which means I'm going to need a part time job. Awesome. What hours are you going to have to work for that? So, what are these things? Where are you going to put them that make sense for where you are right now?
Yeah, yeah, that's so right. And the discipline piece of that is again, like keep coming back to it's okay. Like,
Yep.
if the only time you had to run was at 4 o'clock in the morning, yeah, right. Let's be honest. Are you getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go run?
Mm-hmm.
Because I
Yeah.
mean, based on your own story, it doesn't sound like something you would be disciplined enough to do, or disciplined enough to want to do. I don't
Yeah.
mean to be offensive. I'm not trying to offend you or call you
No,
lazy
it's fine.
or undisciplined. But yeah, it takes a massive amount of discipline to be, if you're used to getting up at 10 o'clock in the morning and all of a sudden it's like I got to get up at 4 and go run. Like that discipline is insane.
Mm-hmm.
And most people aren't disciplined. I'm not. Like I couldn't just change my schedule like that. That would kill me. Like that would be horrible. So I mean, it's okay to just be honest with yourself and be like, okay, I'm not disciplined enough to do this, or I'm not motivated enough to do this, right? So break it down to something smaller. Maybe it's not a marathon, maybe it's just a 5K. That's easy to train for. That
Mm-hmm.
that's 5 minutes of power walking, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like seriously.
Yeah. So it's just taking into account where are you going to put it? Who am I? How does this fit in?
Yeah.
And then I think your values have to play into this too. Is this in alignment with my values? Is this something I truly want? And I think a lot of times what we do is, or somebody puts a list in front of us and says, here's a bunch of words. They can all be values. What are yours? And we just pick from this list of 50 words. And that's not fair. That's where you were in that moment. Like, oh, these sound good to me, but how are you living that out? What things are you doing on a daily basis to show that these are the values? Dave Ramsey says, show me your checkbook and your calendar and I'll show you your values. And I love that. Probably not a checkbook nowadays. Probably just be a bank statement. But it's where's your time and money going? Are those really what your values are, and how are you living those out? And when you have a clear view on what your values are, it makes decision making so much easier.
Hmm.
You know what to say yes and no to on your calendar and your money.
Absolutely. So tell me about overcoming obstacles or roadblocks with your goals, because I feel like that's where In my experience, that's where 90% of the quitting is going to come from, is like you're talking about, life happens. So, you know, I could get sick this month, COVID, we just came out of COVID. Like that changed a lot of goals.
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean just because for that year where our goals had to change, that that needed to end our goals, right? So how do you overcome these obstacles or roadblocks and stay focused and understand that, I can change my goal this month to meet whatever need I have, but then after this month I can get back on track.
Yeah, I think that's important because um, changing direction is important when you need to change direction. It should not be an excuse to not do something. And so I think you've
Mm,
got to be very careful on, oh, now this needs to be important because this isn't going the way that I want it to, and I'm ashamed of it and I'm frustrated with it. So I'm just gonna like shift because Kylie said it was okay. Like, no, 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 no. Did life really happen and do you really need to make a shift, or are you being lazy? Are you not overcoming an obstacle? Um, Gosh. So I think the biggest thing with moving forward and overcoming the obstacles is accountability. It, again, how much do you want it? Is this something you really truly want to do? And then accountability in that. And nobody wakes up and goes, "Dang, I want more accountability in my life." Like that's not who we are. And I've toyed with accountability for 15 years, and there was a business I was in where I would reach out to colleagues and go, okay, this is what I'm after. Like, I know you're after a similar thing. Like, let's run together. Let's be running buddies, running mates in this. And then um, they'd fall off, or we'd give each other the excuses like, oh, it's okay. You had a hard day. No big deal. The key with accountability is someone who's going to actually hold you to it.
mhm.
Um, I hate to quote Dave Ramsey like in 5 minutes twice, but he says, your shopping buddy should not be holding you to your budget because you're gonna go shopping and they're gonna go, oh my gosh, buy 5 of them. Like, no, no, no. So I realized one day, I was sitting on the beach reading a book, and I realized this accountability. The problem I was having with it is that I wasn't afraid to tell the person I didn't do the thing. It was too comfortable.
Mhm.
So I realized, all right, there's two people in my life that I would hate to say, I didn't do it. And it was a leader in that business and my dad. And I was like, all right, my dad's like this much less scary than this leader. So I reached out to him and said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you an email every Monday morning with what I'm going to accomplish that week. And then I have to call you on your way home from work every Friday and tell you what I did, what I accomplished. And he was on board because he didn't have to do anything. He just had to answer the phone. um, but I didn't want to have to tell him out of these, 3 to 5 tasks I said I would accomplish or projects I would get done that week that I didn't do it. And it was a scary thing. And it was scary to put myself out there. So accountability comes with a little bit of fear and finding who that person is going to be for you. I strongly believe it should not be your spouse. That it doesn't work out well. We've tried it in both directions and pick somebody else. It's got to be someone on the outside, somebody who intimidates you a little bit, who's also going to be your cheerleader, but is going to hold your feet to the fire. What did you say you were going to do? Get it done. No excuses.
Yeah, that's so important, and I will agree. Um, do not use your spouse. It's going to cause a fight. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Um, horrible, horrible, horrible idea. Um, but so I totally get with what you're saying about, having to be careful with flexing. And I guess I totally meant to add, I guess I would say that preface of, be real. Like, don't be just making excuses. But again, like you said, if I get sick this month, obviously training for the marathon not a priority because I got to get
Mhm.
healthy.
Yeah.
If I roll my ankle, you know, kind of hard to run. So, but yeah, and then accountability. I'm one of the weird ones. I love accountability. I thrive on accountability. Um, and so I'm always looking for someone uh to hold me to something because like I said, and I think it's just because I'm real about who I am. Like I can sit down. I came in my office to answer an email, just an email, and I had been working all day. I was tired, and actually, I'm sorry, I lied. I was supposed to take the day off, and this was like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I came in to answer an email, and I sat down, answered my email, and then I noticed something on my website that was wrong or broken or
Mm,
something. So
yeah.
I'm like, oh, I need to fix that. And so I fixed it. And then I noticed something else and I fixed the other thing. Long story short, I spent 12 hours completely redesigning my website on a Saturday morning that I was supposed to be taking the day off.
Mm.
Right. And so I needed someone to hold me accountable, as silly as it may sound, like to just take time off. And I have someone that's like, hey, I'm not working at all this weekend. And I tell them that. And then I have to go back and tell that person, like, okay, I worked a little bit. but
Only 12 hours.
see, if I don't have that accountability, then I'll get wrapped up. Even though my intention is to take time off, I'll get wrapped up in it. And yeah, I have to have it.
Well, and that goes back to your values. Okay, so are you saying that you value your family time and rest and know that those are important for your life? Is your time proving that?
Right.
I have a friend who totes about family time all the time. Drives me crazy. They're so focused on family time. And she works all the time. She has a flexible schedule, so she can work all the time if she wants to. And she does. And my husband and I are constantly looking at each other going, you're not proving yourself. You're not showing us that family time is actually important to you based on your schedule. And we know your schedule. So, that day off, did you spend time with your family? Did you rest? Then is that actually a value for you? Because you're not proving it. Your
Right.
decisions are not
Absolutely.
saying that.
Absolutely. And I think, my values are definitely, um, I've not actually thought about that part of it, but definitely a lot of my thing is guilt. Like I feel guilty if I'm not working,
Mm.
and I know that's not healthy, but it is what it is. That's how I am. If I'm not doing something productive, I feel horrible. Um, and the only way to distract myself from that is to play video games because I get immersed in the video game and then I forget that I should be working. But my wife absolutely hates video games, so I don't get to do that a lot. But if I'm reading something, which I enjoy reading, but now it's like something that's advancing my business or my company or me professionally. It's not just sitting down reading a exciting fantasy novel or something like that. My favorite book series ever is a series called Belgarath, and it's like a twist on Lord of the Rings, but it was before the Lord of the Rings. But man, it's an awesome book series, and it's like a little bit of reality tied in with a little bit of fantasy, and it's so cool. Anyway, I've read that series probably 20 times, and it's just a fun story. And so but I haven't read it in years now because I feel too guilty because I should be reading Simon Sinek's latest book or you know whoever and learning something, furthering myself or bettering myself, furthering my career. And so that's who I am. So it's really hard to and that's why I have to have an accountability partner because it is so hard for me. I have to
Yeah.
have someone there to say, like, dude, like it's okay not to work today. Like,
Mhm.
go chill. And
Well,
today, this is all the work I'm doing today because we're getting a puppy next week, a German Shepherd puppy. She's going to be 7 weeks old. Her name's going to be Ari.
oh, I
And
love it.
I'm sorry, Era. Era. That's what it's Russian. It's a Russian spelled word for era, like time, which is really cool.
Okay. That's
Um,
neat.
yeah, yeah.
As
But
long as you
she's
can yell it across town and be okay with it. That's the
but
test.
so we're going shopping today to get all the stuff for the puppy. So yeah, yeah.
Nice.
No, shopping's not my thing, but we'll be okay. But anyway,
Well,
so
I'm with you. Like I have to be productive all the time in some capacity. And so yes, I'm same thing. I read my novels when I sit on the beach. But I can also check emails from the beach. Um, but we are called to rest. And it's the same thing as not taking care of your health. Like I know you're into Spartan races as well. Like you're working out, you're fit. Like we do these things. We eat the right way. We drink enough water and all that. Rest is the same thing. We need that for our bodies, for our mental health. Um, God created the world in 6 days and then he rested. We
right.
are we are called to that. And so even though it's hard, like you said, we need that accountability because it is actually important for us. Now, you and I may not need as much rest as some other people. And that's again recognizing what it is that you need in your life.
Absolutely. And it's funny too, because when I decided to start doing the Spartan trifecta next week, um, I went hard, like right out the gates, like, oh, I gotta be in shape. I gotta be back in my old army shape. Like,
Yeah.
let's go. And so then, I have a friend that is a former college athlete in track and field. And she was like, where's your rest day? You can't run every single day. I'm like, oh,
Watch me try.
I'm not running every single day. Like one day I'm doing CrossFit, one day I'm doing this. And she was like, that's not rest. That's just not running.
Yeah.
And she straight called me out on it. And then her husband, who was a college football player, um, she told him about it and he just laughed. He's like, he's gonna break himself. Like, fine. You know what I mean? But again, it goes back to just accountability, having that accountability partner. So how do you track your progress and monitor, make sure you're, staying on track, get those analytics to show you that you're making progress or you need to adjust?
I am working on a program within my membership for this. I think, again, this is knowing yourself and how you need to do it. There are apps out there. Um, there's all kinds of different programs that you can do this. You can do it on a spreadsheet. Personally, I am a pen and paper girl. My husband tried for the first 3 years of our marriage to get my calendar digital, and he lost. And you know what? I thrive this way. I found the calendar that is right for me, the planner, and you know what? My phone has never deleted my calendar for me. It's lovely, okay? Now, this is not right for everybody. My husband works digitally, and that is perfectly fine. So it's finding what works for you. Personally, I have a habit tracker. And so whether you know, it's changed through the years. Right now, I have a daily habit tracker for things that I just need to like, I know I want a certain number of times a week. And so that sits, it's in front of me right now on my whiteboard. And every day at the end of the day, I go tick my boxes. What did I do X, Y, and Z today? Other times I've had the habit tracker for a whole year, and it's like, okay, I know that in a month I need to do such and such so many times. So it's finding what's going to work for you, but I'm glad you brought that up because you have to track your progress. You have to know where you're going. Um, in the past, um, I had a goal of so many events in a month with the business that I was a part of. And I saw this actually on Pinterest. it was a weight loss goal. And they took 2 jars and they put marbles in one for, let's say it was 20 pounds they wanted to lose. So the jar had 20 marbles in it. And for every pound lost, they got to move a marble from that jar to the next jar. I loved that idea. So that's another idea that you could do with just about anything that, there's so many you want to do in a certain period of time, or, for the month or for the year, and just take them, move them over and watch that one jar empty and the other one fill up. So there's so many ways you can do this. It's a matter of figuring it out for you. I taught a class earlier this year, and the one gal in there was like, I don't want to track. It makes the goals not fun anymore. I don't want it to be like in front of me all the time, because then I get annoyed with it and don't want to do it. And I was like, I was so happy that she knew that about herself. And when I presented that idea with the jars, she was like, okay, hold on. That's a little bit different than me reporting to somebody, me checking those boxes, me feeling like I didn't do something. It's just when it happens, I move the marble over. So she didn't end up doing exactly the jar. She finagled it for herself, but knowing that about yourself, okay, I know that I've done these things in the past and I got frustrated with them and they didn't work for me. Find something that does.
And I think that's the most important thing is like I was talking with my client, just because I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning doesn't mean that works for you, right? Like it's fine, but there is something in this universe, I promise you, that's going to work in your life and is going to make you happy. And it blows my mind that when you said like, oh yeah, I don't like that. It's like, what? Like that's like my
You have to
favorite.
like it.
That's
Do it.
yeah, that's my favorite part of the day, you freak. Like
I know.
when I get to check that off, like, yeah, I did this. Like, I'm not lying. I will like because like I said, my goals go into my to-do list. And then I go one step further. I put my to-do list broken down by time on my calendar. So I'm
Mhm.
always being productive. And I know I'm so weird.
I love it.
But again, that amount of OCD going into my thing, like that would drive most people crazy. Like
Yeah.
that's just too crazy, too nuts, too deep into the weeds. Like people are like, dude, that's. But to me, like that's my favorite. When I get I'm not kidding. If something pops up and it's like, oh, I need to send these emails, that will go in my thing just so I can check it off. Just because it makes me so happy to do it,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like whatever makes you happy, if moving that marble makes you happy, which I don't think, I mean, it's a cool idea. I would not enjoy that. But if that's what makes you happy, freaking do it. Just find, like you said, find the thing that makes you happy and is going to keep you moving, progressing forward. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
love
And I had the marbles for recruiting. And what I had realized is that I set a goal for recruiting in the year, and it wasn't fair because it doesn't matter if I am the best salesperson in the world. If I have every tool and trick in my, tool belt, someone can still say no to me. So I was
it.
setting a goal on something I had no actual control over. Now, it's
Mhm.
okay to set those kind of goals as long as you make the plan that are have controllable components. So I could set the goal and say I want to recruit this many people this year. That means the plan is going to be I have to talk to this many people. I
Mhm.
have to set this many appointments. And so my marbles were set up for, did I have the appointment? And so that way I could go have the appointment, come back home, sit at my desk and move that marble and feel that accomplishment, even if the person told me, no, this is not a good fit.
Mhm.
So, you know, set those goals for things that maybe you can't control, but you have to have the plan in place for what can I do? What is my part in this?
Man, yeah, that's so important. I'm so glad you said that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because like yours, I want to make this much money. Okay, how are you going to get there? What's the plan? Like
Right?
you don't people can say no to you and you cannot make money.
Happens
So,
every day.
yeah, are you putting in the work? because otherwise you will feel so defeated when, day after day goes by and it's not happening.
Oh yeah, that's such a good. Last night, like I was telling you, like I 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I just went and laid down on the bed because every single meeting I'd set up yesterday, I got stood up. That's never
Mm,
happened to me before. Like I've had
now
one
it
or
has.
two. Oh
Welcome to the
man,
club.
I was so crushed. I was just like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Like, what did I say or what didn't I say? Or like, how did I let this happen? And it crushed me and I had to go sleep it off literally.
Mhm.
And so it was just, but then it's like, okay, now that I've given it time, it's like, okay, it happens. It was inevitable that that was going to happen to me eventually. And it's inevitable that it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
Like, because like you said, people can just tell me no. Like, I don't have the time for you today. That's okay. That's their choice. And so whenever you have that, I feel it's so important to not make rash decisions. Like I feel that, because it would have been too easy. Like, oh, I got, no one likes me. So I'm closing up shop and shutting down my business and
Yep.
I'll go make money elsewhere. It
Yeah.
could have been
Screw it. I'm
so
done.
easy. Yeah. But if you, and that's what's going to happen if you dwell in the moment and allow yourself to start making rash decisions, and then it's going to be the next day. I'm like, oh, I wish I hadn't have done that because it's always a lot harder to undo those decisions.
Yeah.
And so it just take time. It's okay to just go take a nap, which is what I did, and
Yeah.
ended up waking up at 8 o'clock, texting you, freaking out, thinking I was late for our podcast. But it's okay just to step away from everything for a minute, let yourself clear your mind, and then reevaluate and go back at it once you have a clear, fresh mindset.
Yes, absolutely. And that's part of the reason my husband and I sit down every month. Is this still what we're going after? Is this still important to us? Do we still want these things?
How
We can
often
ask
do
all those questions.
how often do you change it? Like at the beginning of the month, we'll say, our goal this month or this year is get a new car. I don't know. And then 2 months down the road, y'all sit down, you're like, I don't want a new car now. How often does that happen?
Well, we've been doing this almost 11 years. Um, so not as often anymore. Um, because I think
Mm,
we have a really solid foundation on what the vision is, what the plan is. Um, I think it happened more maybe earlier on as we were figuring out what that is. So I think that's something to take into account is this takes practice.
yeah.
Um, when somebody starts a budget, they say it takes 3 months to figure it out. And that's really hard because you could be jacking up your money every single day.
Yeah.
And you have to, you got to sit down every week with your spouse and go, what the heck did we do this week? How did we get so off track? And you just want to throw in the towel. It's the
Hmm.
same thing when it comes to creating a schedule that works for you and actually sticking to it and what your goals are and what that vision is. So I think you got to give yourself a lot of grace there. We don't do it as often anymore, um, but it's okay. And is it changing a goal for this year or is it changing part of that long-term vision? So the other piece of this is that we sit down and look at this every month. It used to take us 2 hours and we would talk because we would talk about it, right? We'd sit down, we'd have a glass of wine, we finish the budget. Now we're going to like talk and dream on what things look like and where we want to go this month. And now it literally takes us 5-10 minutes. I'm sitting there, I scribble everything on the whiteboard. I'm like, do you have anything to add? Anything off? What's different? He's like, nope, we're good. All right, let's move along. And we kind of, when the first time that happened, we kind of sat there like, well, surely there's more to say. Surely there's more to put on this thing. This should be taking us longer. But it's not because we've honed this practice for ourselves. And and that's all right. But at the end of every year, usually November, because December's, holidays, all that.
Hmm.
So usually end of November, we sit down and we have our goal date for the year. It's my favorite date we have every year because it's planning and I love planning. But we sit and we reevaluate everything. What are we happy with from the last year? What are we unhappy with? What needs to change? We look at all those different facets of our lives, and this is separate. I come with some thoughts on my personal stuff, my fitness and my personal development. And he comes with his, and we talk about where we want to go, who we want to be, what we want our lives to look like. We reevaluate all of this. We take our sweet time on it. And that's when we set up the next year. And so we've set that foundation and that time aside to do that. This is not, hey, let's just whip this thing out.
Hmm.
And a lot of people don't take the time to do that and to just dream. And you've got to look at, who do I want to be? What are things I want to do? And what do I want in life? Like, what are things I want to have? I think a lot of times when people look at this, it's just, what do I want to have? And their goals or their vision board or whatever just becomes a shopping list. But you don't get to have those things until you become the person that deserves those things, that can
Ooh,
have those things.
say that again.
You don't get to have those things until you become the person that deserves those things.
Heck yeah. I love that.
So, who are you becoming? What are you doing to move in that direction? What do you want to do? And then what do you want to have? And all of those have to tie into that vision so that you can set the right goals.
Yeah, that's really good. And like what you're so journaling. I believe in journaling. I have like 7 of them. Um Now people are like, "Oh, I am very deliberate with how I journal." So I have a creative journal. So when I have a problem and I need to be creative to solve it, that's what that journal's for. So that
Mm-hmm.
journal only gets used, if it gets used more than a couple times a month, I'm having a very bad month. But that's what that's for. I have a sleep journal. I call it a defrag journal where I just dump everything out of my brain before I go to sleep to help me sleep better. My goal journal, my to-do journal. I just have like, they're very specific, and they're not just, oh, today on June 10th, I had a good podcast with, like that's not what I do. Um, and when I tell people about that, they're like, dude, like that is an insane system. And it's like, I understand that, because usually it's like me trying to convince people to journal, because it's
Mm,
such a powerful tool to use. If you can if you can get it to be a habit, it is very powerful. And so like, it's this conversation happens because I'm like, dude, you got to do it. You need, or not, you got to, but you need to. And then like, they hear my system, they're like, you're stupid. I'm not doing that. And I'm like, you don't have to. Like, that's the thing. It took me 16 years of practice to get to where I am today. And I still refine it all the freaking time. It's like, oh, wait, this is stupid. I'm going to do it this way. And then I do that for a while, don't like that. So I go back to the way I was doing it. Or who knows? But it's an evolving system that has taken me so long to get to where I'm at today.
mhm,
And it's just, I'm sure it's like what you were just talking about, is where, it used to take me time to journal, and now it's like 5 minutes. I'm like, okay,
yeah.
done. And just like with you, and it's important to understand, like, if hearing today's episode, like, okay, I'm gonna start goal setting, like what they were talking about. Understand your system isn't going to look like ours, and my system's not going to look like yours, because you've been doing this a lot longer than me. It's going to take me time to get to where you're at, but one day I will get there.
Mhm,
Just like the listeners, one day you'll get to where we are, or where I am, or whatever. So I mean, just, you got to give yourself grace and understand, like, it takes time. Like you said, it took
yeah.
you hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, and we did we've done so much around goal setting and vision and everything in this 11 years, and we had to tweak it frequently. Just like I said, I set a goal for recruiting and then realized I had no control over it. Like, well, shoot, I need to adjust that goal. And so we've read all the books, we've done all the programs, and that's why we pulled together and wrote this 7-step program. It's a guide. It gets you set up in the right direction, but it gives you a lot of leeway to make sure that it is your own. I don't care who you are, you have to have a vision. You can
Mhm.
do this vision in a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be on a whiteboard in your living room. It doesn't have to be a picture vision board. We can do this different ways. I'll argue with you on the picture vision board, but we can do that another time.
Don't
Um,
like them either.
that's another topic there. But you can do it different ways, but you have to have a vision. You can do your goals a different way. There's a slew of ways you can do this, but you've got to have the goals in place. You've got to break them down. Um, your values can be totally different from mine. That's fine. But I've got the system to help you uncover what those are. That's not looking at a list of words. So it's just walking through all of these things and setting it up for you, specific to what's going to work for you.
That's so good. And you've built this system from scratch yourself, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
That is so cool. How long did it take you, just out of curiosity? You don't have to tell me if you don't want to.
4 weeks.
That's not bad. That's not
No.
bad at all.
No, my husband wrote it with me, this program, and we just said we're gonna do it. So we committed to it, and we were up at 4:30. I think it was 4:30, 6 days a week for a month to knock it out together. And so
That
we
was painful for
outlined
you.
it. Yes, it was. And the thing is, we wrote this. We moved out of a very nice apartment into a crappy one on a crappy street because we were saving to buy our house, and she was upping our rent again. So we lived in this terrible apartment. We did not unpack. We got rid of half our furniture. So the whole apartment is full of boxes, and we sat on a futon and drank our tea and wrote this program because we were saving money and this was a good program. We're going to make it happen. And we don't mess around. When we're like, okay, we're going to do this thing, we knocked it out and got it done. Kind of like in 2019, I think it must have been 2018. I don't remember. My husband said, are you ever going to write that book you keep talking about during our goal date at the end of the year? I was like, well, now I have to put it on the board. It's happening this year. And so, yeah, and then 2019, I wrote my book and published it in July of 2020. It's like,
That's so
okay,
cool.
we just got to make it happen now.
That's
But
so cool.
I'll have to say, yes, we did it. We made it happen. Just got it done in a month, and it was all a collection of things that we had been doing already. So we just had to outline it and write it.
Oh, that's so cool. And kudos for your husband for calling you out.
Not for accountability, but you can call me out.
But so where can the listeners go find out more about you and your program and what all it has to offer?
Yeah, everything is at KylieRobinson.com, but I do have a freebie for you guys. 5 steps to stop procrastinating and break down your goal. And that's just KylieRobinson.com/free. And social media, Instagram is where you'll find me best. Kylie_N_Robinson.
Nice. And of course, as always, I will have the links to all her stuff in my show notes. So you can just scroll down, click on those. And yeah. So, Kylie, I appreciate you joining me so much this morning. Sorry to get you out of bed so early. You can go back and hibernate a little more now. But before we
Yes.
go, every guest on my show, and sometimes they get mad at me, but that's okay. They have to give me one final piece of wisdom to close out the show. So I ask you, how can people uh, use goal setting to better their lives and influence their leadership more and help them lead like a champion this year?
Wow, that's a loaded question.
It's what I do, man.
I was ready for the first part of it. How can people, I need to say it again. How can people,
How can people use goals to better to enhance their leadership this year? All right, I'll let you off the
I
hook.
think,
Just answer the first part.
no, let me think about it. How can, that's what's getting me. I mean, by doing it and sticking to it. And if you're in a leadership role, I think it's important to tell your team what it is you're after. It's like posting it on social media. Okay, it's this really scary accountability that you really don't want, but you need. If you're in a leadership role, tell your team, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm going after. I don't care what it is. If you're like, you know what, getting up earlier is going to make me a better leader, if working out more is going to make you a better leader, if drinking more water is going to make you a better leader, like if it's a personal thing or if it's totally related to the business that you're in, tell your team about it. This is what I am doing because I'm trying to be a better leader. That piece of vulnerability shows your team that it endears them to you. And when you're vulnerable like that, your team will do the same for you. So I think that's whatever it is you're going after, whatever goal you have set. First off, make sure you're setting the goal and then share it with your team when you're in a leadership role. And if I have to give one tip, that was the first part of the question. What can you do in the next 20 minutes? Like, shut this podcast off, set a timer. What can you do in the next 20 minutes to get you closer to that goal? You might already know what the goal is. Maybe it's setting the goal. Maybe it's sitting down and looking at that a little bit deeper and what the plan is. I don't care. Set a timer. Do something in the next 20 minutes.
I'm actually stealing that from you. Just so you know, I'll give you credit the first couple of times. And then, well, the first couple of times you get credit. After that, it's mine. So I'm kidding. All right. Her name is Kylee Robinson. And I said that right, right? Yeah. Okay. So I'm sorry. I'm struggling today, people. Okay, give me a break. Anyway, and as again, all her stuff's going to be in the show notes, so make sure you go give her check her stuff out, give her support, like, and love. And of course, I am Stephen Morris. I am your host, and I appreciate everybody joining me this week. And remember, lead like a champion. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for joining this week's podcast. And don't forget that if you're ready to unlock your full potential and skyrocket your career, I specialize in empowering ambitious professionals like you to fast track their careers and achieve extraordinary success. No matter if you want rapid advancement in your current role or a seamless transition to a different industry altogether, I'm here to be your trusted guide. Now is the time to break free from the limitations that are holding you back and embrace the extraordinary. Never settle for mediocrity. Claim your spot today. Start with a complimentary session by visiting renownedleadership.com and clicking the Book Now button, or following the link in the podcast description below. Accelerate your career, embrace your true potential, and become the influential leader you are destined to be. Remember, success favors those who take decisive action and lead like a champion. Okay, everybody, I hope you enjoyed listening to Kylie's amazing insights and got a lot of value of our discussion. Make sure you hop over to her website and give her tons of love. Get her book. It's amazing. And of course, I will have all the links to all her socials, her website, her book, everything you need to know in the description or in the show notes. So make sure you scroll down and find those. Give her tons and tons of love. And then, of course, head over to renownedleadership.com. Check out all the resources I have for you. Book a call with me. And I will see you all next week. And in the meantime, remember, lead like a champion. Goodbye, everybody.